Karl Konrad and welcome to the latest edition of Australian Immigration News, proudly brought to you by Australian Immigration Law Services here in Sydney. The Australian newspaper reported that the Federal Labor Government's working group met for the first time this week to determine which international students will qualify for the extended post-study work rights once they have completed their degrees. For graduates in areas of skills shortage, the post-study period of stay in Australia for bachelor degree graduates will rise from 2 to 4 years, master's degree from 3 to 5 years, and for PhD 4 to 6 years. The working group will report to the Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill by the 28th of October, and we hope to hear an announcement on the implementation of that policy shortly afterwards. We are asked by many international students whether their current graduate 485 visa could possibly be extended. Whilst it is easy for the department to extend 485 visas, how they would identify which 485 visa holders to extend is another matter. They may make a new 485 visa stream to apply for depending on an applicant's previous study. However, it may not be likely that those whose 485 visas have already expired would be eligible for an extension. But for all of those former 485 visa holders out there, I hope that this still could be possible. It would be extremely disappointing if the new policy only applied to future 485 visas and for those 485 visas that are currently in the pipeline to be processed. If they do not grant a pathway for an extension for those who currently hold 485 visas, then that would be indeed another slap in the face for those who have helped us here during the pandemic period. Remember though, this extension will not be for all 485 visa holders, just those they will identify who have studied in areas of skill shortage. Now there will be a second advisory group to the Albanese government about the restructuring of the visa program. The Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill shared her views on Sky News after the Jobs Summit about how the current system is operating well below public expectations.
So out of the Jobs Summit, we made a decision to address the skills shortage, especially in areas of health, of education, engineering, some of those really critical shortages, in part through the migration system. But we also announced that we are going to do a very extensive review of that system and really question whether this very complex visa set of categories that we have, we've got 70 visa categories, we've got multiple subcategories, all with their own different criteria, whether this is the right way to run the immigration system. And I'll give you a clue, it's absolutely not. So we want to do it better.
Recently, after the Jobs Summit, the integrity of the genuine temporary entry requirement, known as the GTE, came under the spotlight after an article in the Financial Review by the education editor Julie Hare. The article brought into focus that the GTE requirements made international students wanting to come to Australia lie in their visa applications because they are forced to sign a statement that they did not intend to stay in Australia after they completed their courses. This has been the first time that the GTE requirement has been challenged in the national media for its integrity within the migration system. The article prompted this question to be asked on Sky News to the Home Affairs Minister.
Have you given any consideration to getting rid of the genuine temporary entry requirement?
No, not at this stage, but this is a sort of structural question about the migration system that we will consider as part of the migration review.
The GTE requirement was introduced into law by Peter Dutton back in 2016 when he was the Immigration Minister in the former Liberal government. We'll be doing a special edition soon of how the GTE requirement under Mr. Dutton's Ministerial Directions number 69 has undermined the integrity of the migration system for the last 6 years. A report from the Australian E61 Institute this week titled Labour Shortages in Australia, What Role for Missing Migrants? Outlined that missing migrant workers can potentially account for 83% of the increase in job vacancies in the accommodation and food services sectors. You can see from this graph here, published in the report, a huge difference in the temporary residents in Australia since the pandemic began. The numbers are rising significantly now in 2022, but we still have a long way to go to reach the pre-pandemic levels. According to the report, they find that there could be 186,000 missing temporary migrant workers. So that's why we have a skills shortage. Even more reason why the government should provide an incentive for the temporary resident visa holders who are in Australia to stay here longer, like granting them permanent residency would be a good start. The number of permanent residency parent visa applications in one subclass have more than doubled by the end of June 2022 compared to the previous year. This means unless the federal government drastically increases the quota allocation for parent visas, the contributing parent visa applicants could be waiting well over a decade to have their visas granted. In a recent FOI request, you can see in the department's figures for the 864 contributing parent visa. In the months of March, April and May of this year, there was more than a 5-fold increase compared to the corresponding months in 2021. For the 143 contributing parent visa, the figures were not so dramatic, but still in 2021 compared to 2020, in the months of April and May, they were more than doubled. Overall, comparing the last 2 financial years, the number of applicants for the onshore 864 contributing parent visa more than doubled, and the 143 contributing parent visa increased by about 33%. The government will have to address this issue very quickly and hopefully in this October's budget. We'll leave a link to the FOI request published by the Immigration Department in the description below. That's all for another busy week in Australian immigration news, and stay tuned for more to come. And here's a hot tip for you all. Watch out for an article coming out in the Financial Review tomorrow covering the disastrous New South Wales occupation lists and how they are affecting former IT, engineering and accounting students. I'm sure it will be an interesting read. To support this channel, make sure you hit that like icon. And if you have not subscribed already, you know what to do. As always, take care out there and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.